They got their receiver Gordon coming back from suspension.
But who's going to get him the ball?
Brian Hoyer. Get him the ball. This is going to really hurt anybody that drafted the tight end Brandon. Cameron, is it Brandon? I'm trying to remember his name now. I'm just so distraught right now. I'm so upset right now. I just can't believe it. Jordan Cameron, I believe. Yes, Jordan Cameron. It's going to hurt his value most likely. You'll probably still start him until we see it. And Gordon, don't. If you drafted him thinking he's going to come back, he'll come back after week 2. Hang on to him until you see what Brian Hoyer can do and what they're going to do with the offense. But that's the big news out of Cleveland going on right now. So we'll see what happens with that, and we'll just leave it at that. Other injuries, Larry Fitzgerald, he played last week. Then he took himself out. He's going to play. Got taken out of the third quarter. He said he just couldn't go anymore. So whether he starts this week is anybody's guess. Yeah. It's a wonderful. The good thing about a lot of these guys that are injured, they're all pretty much noon games, so you'll know if they're going to be playing or not probably around 11 o'clock in the morning if they are going to be active or inactive. So that's the good thing about Larry Fitzgerald playing. They'll be taking on the Saints.
They're the focal point of your offense.
Yeah. But you will have time to add something. Hey, you know what? You take Rod Streeter for Oakland. At least he'll be on the field. So I mean, it's better than nothing. So
sometimes it's not better.
This is the case in point. If you have Houston's kicker, Billick, that would be -1 point in my fantasy league. The man actually got me -1.
So you're better off starting Miller.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. So I think I will be dropping him. Vernon Davis, he hurt his hamstring in the game the other night against Seattle. That was a good game. Well, I guess if you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, it was a good game.
Going on, but it wasn't a good game.
49ers couldn't do anything. Kaepernick was the only offense they had out there. He had like 86 rushing yards, I believe. It was the only one that could do. That's the thing, yeah. Seattle, they're too strong at home. Now, if it was in San Francisco, I think it's a different story. So, yeah. But Seattle, they're just a totally different team with the fans. It's 138 decibels, I think they said. 130 decibels. I was looking this up. What's 130 decibels? A shotgun blast. Imagine that going on.
The whole game.
Entire. And I'm going to be out there, so I'll be able to experience it. We're going to be going out there. We're from the Twin Cities, and my dad lives out there now in Seattle. So we're going to be out there November 17th for the Vikings Seattle game. So that'll be a fun time. We'll see how loud it gets. I'll be able to experience that. So Vernon Davis, he has a hamstring. I don't think he'll play. I mean, he might. They are taking on. I'm trying to think. Let's see. They have the Indianapolis Colts. That's going to be a 3:25 game, afternoon game. So if you have another, make sure you have at least another tight end available for you, so you can make a switch. You got the Seattle Seahawks, Steelers, Chicago Bears, Jaguars, Raiders, Broncos, all these guys. Sometimes you can just grab a tight end in those late games if you find out Vernon Davis is going to play. But hopefully if you have Vernon Davis, you have another, maybe a backup tight end, so be planning for that. Reggie, Hakeem Nicks, he dislocated his finger. Did you see that?
Yes.
He dropped it. He dropped it. I'm like, the dude's finger was hanging out to the side, but they popped it back in.
It's not his foot anymore. Now it's his finger.
Yeah, taped it up. He's going to be fine. He'll be playing. So Reggie Bush, his thumb, his groin, now his knee. He did not practice today. He's probably going to be questionable going into the game on Sunday. If you have Joique Bell, you're rejoicing. If you're a Joique Bell owner, you are rejoicing. There's also going to be a 12 o'clock game. They are in Washington to take on the Redskins. So you'll know if you have Reggie Bush for that one. Danny Amendola, his groin, torn adductors in his hip. That sounds a little painful myself. Tear your adductors, it's basically what holds the muscle onto the bone. He's torn those. So he practiced lightly, but
what's that mean?
he fielded some. He did some skill drills. He caught a couple passes, some light catches, stuff like that. But the guy's tough, but I don't think he's going to be going. So I think Tom Brady is going to be yelling once again at his quarterback, at his receivers out there. I can't imagine Daniel Amendola going, and I would.
If he does go, he needs to be tested.
I would. He'd be if I owned Danny Amendola, he'd be on my bench. I mean, I would not even take a chance. Again, you'll know for the 12 o'clock game, they'll be taking on the Buccaneers. Excuse me, the Buccaneers. It's going to be in New England, and Rob Gronkowski. They're kind of going back and forth on him.
I don't think he plays either.
I don't think so either. They're kind of like, well, 50-50, this and that. And you know how the New England Patriots are. They don't really give a lot of knowledge to their injuries until they have to. Physically, that's like basically ripped from their hands about letting you know who's going to be out there on the field. So it's a 12 o'clock game, so at least you have that going in. So if you're planning on using Rob Gronkowski, you might be waiting yet another week on that. We talked about Cleveland already with Brandon Whedon. He's out. Brian Hoyer's going to be in. The Jets, the Jets, Jets might be getting back receiver Jeremy Curley. He's a Jet. And when you're a Jet all the way from your first cigarette to your last dying day. So the song goes. I don't know if maybe you draft him. He's probably riding on your pine. He hasn't played all year.
He's somebody to watch.
Yeah, he's a good talent, but you got Geno Smith, who's still a little raw. Temper expectations. You probably want to go somewhere else and wait until you see what he does there. Eddie Lacy, he is concussed and most likely will not be playing this week. And he didn't practice today. He did attend meetings, though, and that's one of the steps, I guess. You have to pass all these concussion tests, and then they'll let you go to meetings and see if you can, I don't know, stay awake or something like that and comprehend what they're talking about. But he wasn't in meetings.
Him doing a whole lot.
No, James Starks was the big pickup on the waiver wires today. So somebody bid, I think it was around 30 for him. The biggest one was Royal for San Diego. Eddie Royal. Somebody bid 40 of their $100 fab money on him. I think it's a little high, but
and what
to
did he
each
do
their
this
own.
week?
Nothing yet. He has 5 touchdowns on the year, and I think he'll be good in PPR. But I'm not.
So they picked him up for this week, not
for
after his big week.
Yes, exactly. So far for them, they haven't done anything. So we'll see what happens there. He's not. I mean, he's on pace for 40 touchdowns for the year. Think he makes it there?
Not even close. I think the people that had him probably got his best 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, well, he was most likely probably not even drafted because San Diego. I mean,
depends on how.
Phillip Rivers. Yeah, if you have a 16 team, you probably have him on there, and maybe PPR. But Phillip Rivers, I mean, they're starting to do well. They're looking good after 2 games. But Phillip Rivers, he is. I think he's last week had 4 touchdowns or 3? I know Royal had 3 touchdowns. He had 2 in the first week. Phillip Rivers, he had 3 scores, 419 yards. And 3 touchdowns, all going to Royals. So we'll see what happens with them. We also have James Starks. They're taking on Cincinnati this week. I did put a bid in on them, but I didn't want to go too crazy because they're taking on Cincinnati this week. Week 4 they have a bye, and then they come back, and by that time Lacy might be back, might not. I think Lacy. This could be like. The situation in Detroit. Who's the running back that they finally just cut ties with?
Smith.
But just could not get back on the field, and you want to see the guy get out there and play, but might not play again. I think this concussion thing is going to linger on quite a bit with Eddie Lacy. So James Starks, good luck with him. They'll be taking on the Bengals this week. The Bengals give up 62.5 yards rushing per game. They are number 7th against the rush. Ray Rice, hip flexor, day-to-day. They're not ruling him out yet, but
it didn't look good.
Yeah, whenever you're not touched and you just go down, that's not a good sign. They'll be playing Houston. He didn't practice today. Bernard Pierce owners get him ready to go, and you might have even been playing Bernard Pierce last week as a possible flex, so he should get a good workload coming up against Houston. Blaine Gabbert. Jacksonville still has a team down there, I believe. So he did some light throwing, but he's still probably going to miss this game. Look, folks, they're playing Seattle at Seattle. You're not starting any Jacksonville. I don't care if it's the kicker or the head coach. You're just leaving them out. You might be taking Jacksonville if you're in like one of those pools of like what team will lose this week. Might use Jacksonville this one. They're at Seattle.
Their only chances to score may be kicking a field goal.
Slim and none. That's about the only points they'll put on there. So Chad Henney's going to get the start. And you in your IDP league, Manti Te'o, my boy from Notre Dame, he should make his debut for the Chargers at Tennessee. So there you are. Take that for what it's worth. I like Manti Te'o.
Be interesting to see if he makes a big impact to that defense.
Yeah, he's. I mean, they're doing fine right now. San Diego is. I mean, they're getting scored on, but they're also putting up points. And they knocked me out of my my survivor pool, my elimination one. I took Philadelphia. I thought they'd have no trouble getting past San Diego, but apparently those.
Coach, once he learns the rules.
Yeah,
maybe they'll be in better shape.
They're looking fairly good. So anybody overly impress you, surprise, any shocks
surprises
there?
In a shocking bad way was Eli Manning.
Yeah, he had 4 interceptions, I think.
Yeah, that was one
game.
of the biggest.
Every time you play against your brother, it's tough. You feel bad for Eli. I mean, you want to see them both do good. You want to see a great game, but
it turned into a dud.
Yeah, it was.
And the Giants
not pretty.
Offensively, they're a mess right now.
Yeah, Peyton Manning, he had a decent game, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nothing like his 7. I mean, come on, it was.
He wasn't going to embarrass his brother.
It was horrible. It was horrible. I mean, compared to his first week of 7 touchdowns. But Eli Manning, he had 4 interceptions, 1 touchdown, 362 yards. So there you are. All right. So do you want to get to the games here? Let's see. We'll go to, we got a game tomorrow night, and it happens to be a good one. Andy Reid going back to the city of brotherly love to take on his old team, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Like him, now that he's gone.
They booed Santa Claus.
I think he'll get a good reception.
I think he will. I don't think they're that heartless. I don't know. The city of brotherly love, they got to embrace some.
Well, now that Andy Reid is gone, they probably like him a lot more.
Yeah, and Michael Vick. I mean, Michael Vick loves him. He's the one that gave him a shot after he was getting out of jail for the charge and stuff like that. But it'll be a good game tomorrow night, 7:25 kickoff. I think Jamal Charles will have a nice game in this one.
I was impressed in the second half because the first half it looked like they weren't going to give him the ball at all. The second half, when they needed to grind out some yards, they gave the ball to Jamal Charles. So
towards the end when it mattered,
right.
you know. And he was hurting and stuff like that. He said, "Just put me in, I'll grind it out and get the yards."
The numbers don't look especially pretty, and Jamal Charles owners probably expected a little bit more out of him in the first 2 weeks. But I think you're going to see more of him in that offense.
Yeah, I think it is going to be coming, and he should have a fairly good game. And I'm really expecting a big game out of Dwayne Bowe, the Philadelphia Eagles, and granted, it's small sample size, we're only talking 2 weeks. Eagles ranked 31st out of 32 teams in pass defense, surrendering 360 and a half yards to the
Alex Smith
opposition.
Try to take advantage.
Yeah, and
because they don't throw the ball downfield much at all.
You watch the game. I mean, if you can make Philip Rivers look like a Pro Bowl quarterback, and he is a good quarterback, but I have no qualms about if you have Alex Smith. Maybe you want to roll the dice a little bit. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I think there'll be a lot of points in this one. So Dwayne Bowe, I'm expecting big things of him, and Jamal Charles for Philadelphia. The Chiefs, very good defense. They're second in the rush. They'll find a way, I think, to score anyways. Sean McCoy, you're starting him. He's basically in a redraft right now. He could probably be like the number 1 pick, even over Adrian Peterson. He's just on fire.
Our offense, it's a tale of extremes with the offense of the Eagles and then the defense of the Eagles.
He was targeted 6 times last week and caught 5 for 114 yards. And the first go, week 1, I think he had maybe 1 catch, I believe it was. So they're starting to, and they were talking about Chip Kelly not, throwing to the running backs, but they made up for that. He didn't score, but I
But
think
he's gonna
he'll
get a
find
lot
the
of
end zone.
chances. He'll have the ball in his hand a lot.
And also for the Eagles, Michael Vick, you're starting him. Sell could be a good play, I think, at tight end. Sneaky play if you want, if you need a tight end.
Anybody on the offense of the Eagles, you have a shot the way they move the ball around.
Yeah, who's the Eagles wide receiver? That number 10 guy. Deshaun Jackson. Yeah, 9 catches, 193 yards, and a touchdown. He was targeted 15 times. He got 9 balls. You ever watch a game and they're just like, couple passes here, 4, 5, 7,
15.
10, 12. You want to put somebody on this guy, possibly? I mean, I don't think they really have anybody else to throw to. So Deshaun Jackson, he just went crazy, 193 yards and a score in the game against San Diego, and the loss, as I mentioned before, against San Diego. So start your Chiefs, start your Eagles. It should be a fun one to watch tomorrow night. Let's move into the Sunday games here. We'll go through the 12 o'clock games. We have the Texans taking on the Ravens in Baltimore. What do you like about this one?
Well, I don't like the fact that Andre Johnson is not going to play.
Yeah, he got
probably not going to play. He's had concussion-type symptoms, so that's a big blow right there. So you have to think if you have Foster, he's going to see the ball more with the Texans.
DeAndre Hopkins had a nice game. Basically, pretty much single-handedly won it for him down the track. And if you have DeAndre Hopkins, was he drafted in your league?
He wasn't drafted in our league.
Wasn't drafted,
No.
So he was picked up then, I'm guessing?
I'm sure by now he is picked. I haven't looked over the waiver wire yet.
In our league, he was drafted, and we had a 12-team league. So in the 10-team league, he might not have been, but I know somebody drafted him. But he'll get some good looks because, like you said, Andre Johnson's going to be probably out for this game. So DeAndre Hopkins, he had 7 catches, 117 yards, and a touchdown last week. What do you think about the split between Tate and Arian Foster?
I think Foster, as the season goes on, is going to get the ball more.
But Tate is like outperforming him.
Right, but still Foster
for both weeks.
Foster is the number one guy.
But he's the name guy. But if you remember back in Arian Foster, it's like he was a nobody too,
right,
and just kind of came on also.
But I still think for the next 2 or 3 weeks, Foster may get a chance to see the ball more. And then Tate, if he continues to do what he's doing, then he may take over. But I still don't think they're going to push Foster out and let Tate take over.
Yeah, I agree. I think Arian Foster, they were going to ease him into the role and increase his workload. But I mean, you can't take out Tate if he's doing well.
But I think who's going to get the ball when they're in the red zone?
If anybody fumbles, they're out.
They're out.
I don't think they have. I remember it was a few years ago. Yeah, it was a few years ago in Houston where, like, if their running backs, and this is back when Arian Foster was playing, and I can't remember the other, I think Ron Dane was even on that team possibly at the time, but anybody that fumbled, they sat out, and that was it for them. So, expect good things for world score. Expect big things for the backfield for Houston as they take on Baltimore. Baltimore only giving up 65 yards a game, though. Most of the damage you can do is through the air, surrendering 319 yards. For Baltimore, most likely will be without Ray Rice. They're not ruling him out yet, but Bernard Pierce owners should plug him in. Houston's nothing to sneeze at, the defense.
No, they're not, but the injury that Rice had, I think it's safe to say that he's probably not going to play.
Yeah, it's your marquee guy. You're not going to bring him out, especially this early. And now, if it's we're talking like a playoff spot or you're in the playoffs, even then, I don't know. I mean, it's like Terrell Owens. I mean, he came back early after that broken foot for Philadelphia, which I thought was like one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. I don't think. I mean, we're talking the hip flex. I mean, you can play maybe on a gimpy foot or something like that, but you have interior tendons and stuff like that holding your hip on. I don't think they're going to run them out there. So, yeah, you might see a good dose of Bernard Pierce. And a guy I picked up for Baltimore, their rookie. He's 6'1", Marlon Brown. He had 4 catches, 45 yards, and a score. Nice compliment to Torrey Smith. They thought he was going to be a burner, but he's not. He's not real fast, but they always say you can't teach 6'5".
Big target for Flacco to throw to, and who else on that team?
And what they're gonna try doing now. He wasn't effective going straight down doing fly patterns. What they're gonna start doing now is running him out over the middle. And if you're in PPR, it could be a very good, good deal for you then. Royals up 3 set, by the way, over Cleveland. There you go. It's only the first inning, folks. So, yeah, should be a good game. I picked him up, Marlon Brown. If he's out there, might want to grab him. Stash him on your bench, see what they do. Texans not too generous with the yards. 156 yards per game they give up in the past. They're third overall. Let's move on to the New York Giants against the Carolina Panthers. It was a bad day for Eli. It can only get better, I think. The Panthers secondary, they have a strong front line. Their secondary is horrible, though. I mean, if you look at the game against Buffalo, the E.J. Manuel to Stevie Johnson catch at the end of the game, the backfield was a mix. They have some young guys out there. They're not playing good football in the secondary. Like I said, the line's strong, but the secondary is just it's in shambles.
A chance for a lot of points to be scored.
Yeah, I think Eli Manning, I think will go over at least 300 yards in this one. Could flirt with 400, and at least
I think
3.
Cam Newton, Olsen, Steve Smith, D'Angelo Williams will all have.
Yeah, D'Angelo Williams looking very nice. Yeah. He's looking very good. And let's look at the Detroit Lions. They are at the Washington Redskins. RG3. Not getting off to good starts. You know what?
But his numbers are
good. So, I mean, that's what we're talking about. I mean, if you're looking at, like, if you're a Washington fan, you're complaining, you're whining, you're feeling bad that he's not doing what you want. But you know what? He comes alive in the second half, and like we said, garbage time. Yeah, they're behind. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot, and he comes out with decent numbers every time. So he and Pierre Garçon, they're both going to be good plays. Lions give up 243 yards passing. Griffin finished in, I'm trying to see, 6th place as far as the quarterbacks go. 320 yards. He had 3 touchdowns. Not rushing, though. He's not going to be running a lot. He had 4 carries for 1 yard.
The knee is limited.
I think the brace is holding him back a little bit. So,
but he's throwing the ball a lot. They've been behind, which is good.
The defense is horrible, and last week against Philadelphia or against Green Bay's defense atrocious as well. So, and anytime you got 2 bad defenses and you have a lot of great marquee players on offense, there's going to be a lot of points scored. And
it's good if you have players on those teams.
Exactly. And if you have a lot of great players that are playing a tough defense, like the San Francisco 49ers, you have Colin Kaepernick on your team. You expect great things from him. He did all right, but you got to temper expectations. You're still going to start your studs. They always say start your studs, but if you have some better options sometimes, like if you had Frank Gore last week and you had another option against a bad run defense, you might start him.
That's what you look at. There's some times where you're going to have to
play the matchups and just hope that it works out in your favor, but you can't put your stud guy out there sometimes as a running back or receiver when you know that defense has a chance to shut them down. Joique Bell, a very good play this week, especially if Reggie Bush is in play. Washington Redskins giving up an average 201 yards rushing per game. 201 yards rushing per game. That is just that's insane. Now, granted, they played against Philadelphia and Green Bay. Starks had a huge game. The first over 100 rusher for Packers in 44 years or something like that, I think it was, or 44 games.
Lions their game plan has to be we know we can run the ball on these guys.
And Joique Bell, he's done well so far, so it should be a fun one to watch there. A lot of points scored. All right, moving into the San Diego Chargers. They're at Tennessee. Kendall Wright starting to kind of come on. He's probably, if you have to get a receiver for Tennessee, he's probably the only one you want to own. The second-year receiver for Tennessee. And Chris Johnson, what do you think about him?
It's been okay. You know,
Yeah,
but the offense has been sporadic. Brett hadn't done anything. Johnson has been okay.
Jake Walker is Jake
Just
Walker.
been okay.
So
You know.
I'm trying to pull up Chris Johnson. He had 25 carries, 96 yards. So it wasn't too bad. Well, not too bad for Johnson, but a shell of his former self, running for 200 yards.
But I think he's got a
so.
chance against the Chargers defense to maybe get in the end zone a few times.
Yep, and they give up about 104 yards average for the rushing. They really they're the worst team. Chargers are the worst team against the pass. So they give up the most 375 and a half yards per game.
Maybe they'll start using Chris Johnson a little bit more in the passing game.
In the passing game, and so I said Kendall Wright. You might want to if you can get him, play him, and hopefully enjoy it. We'll see who. I think it's going to be more defense. I don't expect like a 35 to 28 score. I think it's going to be more down in the teens, I'm guessing, for this game. But keep an eye on that. We also have just talking about him, receiver for San Diego. Why can I never remember this guy? Royal.
Eddie Royal.
So he should have a nice game as well. Antonio Gates is Antonio Gates. Not quite what he used to be, but still serviceable probably for this game.
The way Chargers put up points, they get him the ball.
And look, I'm a big Gates believer. I had Gates, the last few years, and he had Liz Frank, turf toe, battling through that. And the offense with, Ryan Matthews, it just looked anemic the last few years. But now they're actually putting points up on the board. They're getting a lot of points scored on them, but they're actually putting points up. So good for your offense.
It's a good sign, yeah.
Yeah, good if you have the players on offense. You don't want their defense, because they're going to be scored upon. The Arizona Cardinals against the Saints. Again, Larry Fitzgerald. They're going to be taking on the New Orleans Saints. Should be some good points scored. I think this is the kicker I'm going to be picking up for Arizona. Arizona's Feely, Jay Feely, going to be my kicker I'm going to pick up. I feel that they'll be able to move the ball a little bit, but not quite get in the end zone. So
I just think that this game is another one where possibility for a lot of points to be scored for both sides. So if you have Saints or Cardinals offensively, I would play them.
Rashard Mendenhall, he had a decent game. Nothing too amazing. I'm waiting for that ladder to fall down on us here. Club is in the head. He should be all right. The guy that a lot of people are talking about, Andre Ellington for Arizona. He's the backup, but he had 4 carries, 20 yards. He had 2 catches, 42 yards, and he also did score. He got both of his balls, both of his targets, so he did get in the end zone. And if you're in a deep league, maybe a dynasty league, you might want to look at picking him up, Andre Ellington for Arizona. The Saints side of the ball, you're starting all Saints. But Arizona, very, very, very stingy the run, but the Saints don't really run the ball a lot. They do a lot of screens out to Sproles, and if you got Sproles, that's a good play there.
As a run.
Yeah, that's going to be the run. They're third. They're ranked third against the run, giving up 58 yards a game, but they can be beaten through the air, and I think Drew Brees and Jimmy Graham will pick them apart. We got time for one more here. Jim? We're good? All right. Let's do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New England Patriots.
It's going to be interesting because both offenses have looked bad at times. The Bucs more so than the Patriots.
I haven't seen Tom Brady yell at players. I think I literally caught a little blood. I think his lungs were bleeding. He was yelling so much at his receivers. And Edelman, he'll be a good play there. They might get Gronkowski back. I don't think they'll have Danny Amendola. This could be a big game for Stephen Ridley, possibly. We'll have to see that. The Buccaneers, 12th against the run. They can also. They're not. They're kind of middle of the road for both ways.
Run the ball a little bit more since their receivers
that's
aren't
what
on the same page.
That's why I drafted Ridley. I thought they would be doing that more often than not. I think they'd be a little more run heavy. Now they lost all their.
They may be forced to do
receivers. So, yeah, we'll see about that. For Doug Martin. He had a fairly decent game, 29 carries, 144 yards. Did not get in the end zone, though. If you had Doug Martin last year, just remembering back to the 5-6 touchdowns he had in that one game against
that may
Oakland.
not happen.
Yeah, but you want at least 1 or 2, but at least LeGarrette Blount's not there, sniping all the goal line carries away from him. So that is going to be at Gillette Stadium at 12 o'clock. We'll be back with some more 12 o'clock games and the 3 o'clock games, the Monday night game, the Sunday night game. from 810 Zone in Leawood, Kansas. We'll be back in a moment. All right, we're back at the 810 Zone in Leawood. I'm Clay Jensen with former Royal Brian McRae. And what do you think of the Royals this year? There's 5 teams ahead of them, at least from the beginning of today in the wild
6
card
teams
race.
going for 2 spots.
For 2 spots, it's tough. I do like the fact that they put another the spot in the wild card race, not just one team now, so 2 can get in there.
No, it's been a lot more exciting to watch. A lot more fun, and
even if they don't make the
playoffs,
playoffs,
their future is bright.
Yeah,
they're headed in the right direction.
Yeah, Royal baseball is meaningful in late September, which is always nice to see. Being a Twins fan, I'm kind of used to getting to the playoffs, maybe winning the wild card, and then getting ousted by the Oakland Athletics, getting
they have
swept
trouble
in
beating
3
the
games.
Yankees.
Yeah, the Yankees are that on the road at Oakland. It's just
But no, it's a lot more enjoyable to have the baseball team playing well here in Kansas City.
Yeah, so we'll see how they do. They're up 3-0 right now, I believe. I totally forgot to mention a guy named Calvin Megatron Johnson. He plays for the Detroit Lions. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yeah, he did a little bit.
Yeah, 6 catches, 116 yards, and 2 touchdowns against Arizona. Yeah, he's going to be a good play this week against the Redskins. They already give up 310.5 yards. I think by the end, that's going to push the average up to over 400, I believe. And he's going to have a huge game.
Team him, triple team him, and it's not going to matter.
It's just amazing. I think Fitzgerald was saying that he's the best receiver out there, bar none.
I think so.
I
think he's gotten better.
He's just.
He was one of the best when he came into the league, and now he's turned it up a notch.
And it's just amazing that, in fantasy purposes, myself, unless I was like down low and all the good running backs were taken, I guess I would take Calvin Johnson. But to me personally, I always have to go running back. I mean, I did take Michael Vick after he broke out that 1 year in the first round. And he just killed me, and not in a good way either. It was not pretty. But Calvin Johnson, he's just the best, bar none. He's just an amazing talent to watch. And like we were talking about AJ Green last week about people putting people on him, and it doesn't matter. He just outjumps.
One of those guys is gonna get it done no matter what you do.
Yeah. So it's he should have a really good game against the Redskins. Let's get back to some of the other games here. Speaking of AJ Green, it was kind of quiet against Pittsburgh on Monday night, but he should be going off, and I'm glad I'm not facing him this week. They are at home against the Green Bay Packers, who surrender 360 yards on average, passing yards per game. So AJ Green, great start this week. Carson Palmer should have a nice game. What do you think about Giovanni Bernard, Gio Bernard, as they call him, and Ben Jarvis Green Ellis? What do you think?
I think it's a good combination there. A lot of rookies don't get drafted in some of these leagues, but they get picked up after the first couple of weeks. And I think if Bernard did he get drafted in your?
He was drafted in ours. We were a PPR league, so I mean he was slated to be a good PPR back. He should get a lot of receptions. He had 2 touchdowns.
One rushing and one receiving, and
they
didn't need AJ Green.
Tiny flashes, and I'm not comparing him to this guy, but he looked a little like Adrian Peterson on some of those scampers in there, especially on the one run.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go that far yet.
No, I mean I'm not saying he's Adrian, but little tiny flashes of Adrian Peterson. So should be a good game. The Packers, they can score a lot of points, but they can get scored on big time as well. So.
I think there's a theme of some of the matchups this week where there's a possibility for the offenses to run wild a little bit.
Yeah, and Green Bay should be fine there. Cincinnati as well. A lot of points scored in this one. I don't know. I mean, Bengals got a good defense. The defense is legit, just like Cleveland's defense is legit. Their offense is in shambles now. Let's not even talk about that. But Bengals, they got a good defense, so.
But were they good because of who they played in the first 2 games, or is that defense a pretty good defense? I think they played 2 offenses that really weren't that good.
I think their defenses are in Cleveland and Cincinnati. I think both their defenses are improving and have improved over the time. Aaron Rodgers, I don't think he's throwing 4 touchdowns against Cincinnati, but and nearly 500 yards. They're talking. For Michael Vick, I think they're saying something about like he could have got around 6. I think he threw for 428. There's like 3 plays, I guess, that one was a penalty, one was stepping out of bounds or whatever, but I could have racked up nearly 400 passing yards, 600 passing yards.
I think you're going to just go on the premise of if my defense has a chance to match up with the Eagles, I'm going to go get another defense.
Yeah. So unless you have like Seattle's defense, you can just play the matchups, or San Fran.
That may be the only one. Those 2 may be the only ones that I would match up with them.
And I'm actually I have Cleveland's right now. They're going to be playing Minnesota, and now without any offense, I'm actually going to I'm going to pick up the Buffalo Bills defense. They're taking on the Jets on Sunday.
Pick on the lowly Jets.
Yes. Yeah. Why not? Everybody else does. So, should be a high-scoring game. For Cincinnati and Green Bay. For the St. Louis Rams and the Dallas Cowboys, a lot of people running out to pick up Jared Cook if he wasn't drafted already. He was a big free agent tight end. A lot of waiver claims made on him. He was pretty much shut out in week 2. He had like 140 yards, I think, week 1. And I'm trying to pull up his stats real quickly here. He was, he had 1 catch for 10 yards. 5 targets.
There's a lot of that going on, though. there's going to be situations where, especially with some of these unproven guys, where they'll have a week or two where they do some good things, and people are going to run out and get them.
Do you think if they were playing Atlanta, and Atlanta gives up
Right.
a lot of passing
And
yards?
It's
so
more of the matchup.
the matchups, yeah, and that's always the hard thing. If you can figure that out, that you're golden. I mean, because they all have different schemes and stuff like that.
It's tough to
players.
figure that out.
So we have, let's see, Richardson, the running back for the Rams, should be fine against Dallas. The way he beat Dallas, though, is through the air. So Tavon Austin, he had 2 touchdowns last game.
Yeah, I thought Dallas defense against the Chiefs looked pretty solid against the run.
You wondering why they weren't throwing the ball to Dez Bryant when he was one-on-one on the outside there?
They kind of went away from that.
They were down on the goal line.
Yeah, they went away from that, which was kind of odd. But a lot of things that happen in Dallas are kind of odd to me.
Yeah, and whatever happens in Dallas stays in Dallas. At least it should, anyways. The Cowboys and the Rams, they're both 1-1. This game is going to be in Dallas. Dez Bryant should have a nice game as well. Rams giving up 330 yards passing for the defense.
Well, if they continue to throw the ball to Dez, that's the question. Will they continue to throw the ball to him, or are they going to shut it down like they did against the Chiefs?
I feel like Randy Moss is like, just give me the damn ball.
Or at least target him enough. I mean, the way Flowers was covering him, if he didn't make a catch, it was going to be pass interference.
Kansas City front line looked great. The secondary for Kansas City, I think they're making a how not to cover a wide receiver.
Dez Bryant is going to make a lot of.
He's a great player, but you at least have to turn around and look for the ball. Flowers didn't do that on any of his plays. I mean,
no, he had a bad ball game.
Yeah,
and luckily it didn't cost him a victory because the Cowboys, after that great first half, did not throw the ball much to Dez Bryant.
Yeah, DeMarco Murray, he's legit. As long as he stays healthy, he's going to be. He gets some passes out of the backfield, which is good for PPR, which is something he didn't get a lot of. And yeah, as long as he stays healthy, I think DeMarco Murray's a nice pick.
I like what the Cowboys can do offensively. I just don't understand kind of the way they go about it. They have some good weapons. Witten, I don't think they used him enough in the vertical game. They did a lot of short passing Sunday against the Chiefs, which I just found was odd when they had some success going deep a little bit. They were throwing 2 and 3 yard passes and expecting Witten to outrun somebody. He's not going to do that now.
Austin Pettis, another receiver for St. Louis. He had a decent game, 8 for 78 and a touchdown. And also Chris Givens, he went over 100 yards, 5 for 105. And then he had Tavon Austin. I don't think he's going to be getting 2 touchdowns every game unless he gets maybe 1 and then punt return or something like that. If you have Tavon Austin, he might be nice for return if you get return yardage.
Yeah, if you have some leagues have the defense and special teams.
Yep. So you might be a nice play there. Darren Sproles used to do that all the time. He was great to have in a PPR league, and then on punt returns.
But there's some leagues that don't allow you to get the double points, though.
Yeah, I don't like that. I like if you have the guy,
then you should get everything.
You should get everything he gets. It shouldn't just be the defense. It drives me. I have one league that does it, one league that doesn't. So
yeah, because you have to make some special.
It's drafting tool. It's right. Like when you draft in too, you're like, okay, you're writing down all the punt returns.
Like, and also the guys who sometimes quarterback.
Yeah.
They can be 1 for 1 with that one pass where they throw that 2-yard touchdown pass and get a touchdown there.
I mean, if the guy's out there and he makes the play, find the defense.
You should get his points.
You should get his points. I'm all for that too. We're in agreement there. Let's see. The Cleveland Browns are taking on the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Vikings might actually. Well, someone's going to get a win here. Would I like to be my
Vikings,
the
Browns
or Mike Browns?
No.
Yeah, I think a big game for Adrian Peterson. And granted, the Cleveland Browns, they've had technically they're ranked 4th against the run. They have the 4th best defense against the rush. But if you can throw on and put points up, you don't really need to run against them. But I think the front line's legit. Mingo's back in there, and you got Joe Hayden on the outside. So
maybe their defense can score a few times.
True. Well, this will probably be it because if I drop Cleveland's defense to pick up Buffalo's this week, That's when Cleveland will score on defense.
They'll have an interception return for a touchdown, and
Josh Cribbs will run a punt return back and kick off.
back.
Yeah, oh gosh, that would be my luck there. So you start Adrian Peterson. Other than that, nothing really. I mean, Cordell Patterson had right off the bat against Chicago had a kickoff return, but still a little too early to be playing him. I think this is just going to be the Adrian Peterson show, and that's pretty much it.
Yes.
Which it's
and I don't see a lot of people in the leagues that I'm in have anybody from the Vikings that they start.
Yeah.
You have them as some backup guys.
Yeah, Jordan Cameron. I mean, trust me, I'm from Minnesota, and I know the way you beat Minnesota through the air because they never have a good secondary out there. Their offensive line, or the defensive line is always stout, very good, but you throw on the Vikings if you have any chance, and Cleveland's going to have to be throwing a lot. So it might be a sneaky pickup for if you want to grab Cleveland's starter at quarterback for this week. Might get a lot of garbage time.
Grab Hoyer unless you're desperate.
But you got Jordan Cameron out there, and you'll also have I'm trying to remember the name of Gordon out there as well. He's coming back, so he's probably the best receiver. But again, it's his first game back this year, so temper expectations on that one. Atlanta, these are the 4 o'clock, I should say the 3 o'clock games, 4 o'clock Eastern, if you will. If you're watching us on the East Coast, the 3 o'clock games, we have the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Miami Dolphins.
The surprising Miami Dolphins.
Yes, the 2-0 Miami Dolphins. What do you think about the backfield for Miami? Give me your take. I know you're a big Daniel fan.
I'm a big Lamar Miller fan. I just don't think that he's an every down back. Now, he got about, I think it was 12 or 13 carries last week. And Thomas got about, they were almost equal. I think Thomas is the guy that when they get in goal line situations or get close, they need to punch it in, he's going to get the ball.
Either him or their tight end, Charles Clay, who's like I was jokingly just mentioned him in our first show about just him being their tight end. He actually had a nice game. He ran one in. He's their tight end. They used him as a fullback, and they rushed him in. He had a touchdown, rushing touchdown, but he also had 5 catches. They just kind of streamed it right out over the middle.
What was the breakdown?
He had 5 catches, 109 yards.
For the running backs.
For the running backs?
Yeah, what's the breakdown for those two? Because I think they're close to carries, even though Lamar Miller is a starter.
Let's see. Lamar Miller, he had 14 carries for 69 yards and a touchdown. He also had 2 catches, caught both of his targets for 6 yards. And let's see, Thomas, I have to pull him up real quickly here. I think he didn't have as good of a game, though.
No, but I'm just saying, I'm just looking at carries to see what they're doing with them.
Daniel Thomas, he had 8 carries for 30 yards.
So 6 more carries.
Yep. 6 more carries. So Lamar Miller, he's a quicker guy, I think. Daniel Thomas,
he's a faster guy, but
Daniel Thomas has experience. I think he'll be used at goal line.
And when they get in those situations, why Lamar Miller wasn't playing as much last year is picking up the blitz packages. He was lacking in that area. Thomas is a bigger blocker.
I look at Thomas and Miller as the unsexy C.J. Spiller, Fred Jackson. Whereas like Spiller and Jackson, you can kind of put them both in and you'd be fine there.
But if they continue to play well, the Dolphins do, you may hear a little bit more of both these guys. I think if you have either of these guys, I think as the year goes on, they're both going to get their opportunities to score. They're going to get their opportunities to do some things for fantasy purposes. If you have Thomas on the bench, he may not do anything for you for 7 or 8 weeks, but there's going to be some weeks, I think, later on.
But, I mean, do you want to carry this guy the whole time on your bench, though?
Well,
Myself, I don't.
What do you do with guys on your bench?
Depending on how deep your bench is.
Right.
I mean,
if you have depth, he could be your third running back.
Yeah, I mean, if you have like 18 slots, I guess. I mean, he could sit there, depending. But I mean, we have we have I think 14 on ours. So
But
we have basically six
he's going to
bench players.
have a couple weeks where he rushes for 2 touchdowns.
And you think you might use him as like a plug-in if you have like your star running
Right.
back on a bye. Mike Wallace, he also he got a nice little game. Got some love from Tannehill. 11 targets. He had 9 catches, 115 yards, and a touchdown. So
and
he
I
should be
sat him on
fine.
the bench.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, my
After
goodness.
his first week and his complaining about
Yeah.
not getting targets, I thought that nothing's going to happen.
You do that sometimes, like, you know what? I'm putting you on the bench. I don't like your attitude.
Well,
It's
not
like
that.
you're coaching them yourself.
I just didn't think that the offense was going to go from 1 target to him or 2 targets to him to doing what they did. But, I'm
That's
trying
what
to
you do in
temper
the
that.
NFL. You complain and you start getting
you
looks.
Get the ball.
You get the ball. So and he should have a good game. Atlanta, 29th against the pass, surrendering 346 yards per game. Let's move into the this is not a sexy game, but it's the Buffalo Bills at the New York Jets. So you have E.J. Manuel going against Geno Smith.
For fantasy purposes, it could be.
It should be fine. I am a C.J. Spiller owner. I'm starting them. I'm not liking it. The Jets they're a very good defense. Tied for 4th against the run. They surrender only like less than 60 yards a game. So I'm not liking what I'm seeing there.
See, what I'm thinking.
But it's C.J. Spiller though. So
but I'm thinking in this game that Geno Smith throws a bunch of interceptions.
Yeah.
The Jets defense gets tired. The Bills were able to score.
Yeah, and if the Bills score, and that's a good thing about it.
Short field, get some interceptions. Spiller gets some chances.
Yeah, and if the Bills start scoring, that puts more pressure on Geno Smith to do even better. And then next thing you know, there's even more interceptions being thrown. So if you have a Spiller, you got to start him. Fred Jackson might be a nice flex. You always worry about getting him in there. I remember when I had Kansas City, I had Priest Holmes and who's the other guy
Johnson?
back there? Johnson, Larry Johnson, same time. And you like it. The matchup was so sweet this week. I was like, I can't bring myself to put 2 guys in because like if they don't have a good game, something goes bad. You're
if
done.
they have a good game.
3 touchdowns for each player. I did get 3 touchdowns out of one of my. The other guy sitting on the bench.
6.
I could have had 6. So I'm not expecting that against the Jets this week, but that's kind of the thing with Fred Jackson and C.J. Spiller. I have them both on one team. I got Fred Jackson basically for a handcuff
on one
in case
team, I
Spiller got
have
hurt, or the vice versa.
4 Carolina Panthers.
Did you really? On one of your teams
On
this
one
year?
of my teams, yeah.
This year, so that's why you're so big on Steve Smith.
And I start him.
All right. Do you have Tolbert?
No.
Okay. It's probably
I have Olsen, Smith, D'Angelo Williams, and Cam Newton.
Okay. That's not bad. Now, they're all on one team?
They're all on one team.
All right. So that one's basically you a Carolina fan or?
No, I'm not a Carolina fan.
All right.
I'm going to be good until week 8 when they all have off. And then
That's like the one guy on my team. He has all Denver Broncos pretty much. So that week 9 is going to kill him. Let's move into the Indianapolis Colts taking on the San Francisco 49ers. This is going to be at San Francisco. Trent Richardson, as we mentioned before, he's been traded over to the Indianapolis Colts.
What impact do you think he's going to have this week?
Nothing really. I don't think he's going to be in the game plan really. He might suit up, maybe. But he doesn't know the playbook. It's going to take a little bit. Trent Richardson will be very good once he gets acclimated to the playbook. A nice
3 or 4 weeks down the road. So if you
he's
have
gonna
him,
be
you
PPR
don't start
stud.
him.
Yeah, he's going to be a PPR. I'm
You
not
don't start
playing
him this week.
I'm not starting him this week. No, Vic Ballard I think will get the looks. Or I'm sorry, Ahmad Bradshaw. He's got the whole backfield himself now with Vic Ballard on IR. So Ahmad Bradshaw. But again, you're playing San Francisco in San Francisco. Pretty good defense there. So it should be a nice. Should be a fun game to watch, though.
I don't think they're going to score a whole lot.
Yeah, Indianapolis, both these defenses are kind of middle of the road. They're not terrible, but they're not great either. So it could be some points scored. Kaepernick, I think, is just going to go crazy in this game. And it's not just because I own the guy. He was kind of held in check.
You don't think he's going to have 2 off weeks?
No. And Indianapolis gives up 139 yards, 136 yards rushing. I think easily Kaepernick could get that, but I think a nice, I'm not talking 400 yards like he did in week 1, but he should have a very nice day. I'm expecting at least 300 yards and 3 touchdowns from Kaepernick. For the, we'll brush over this one. Jacksonville is in Seattle. 0-2 Jacksonville taking on 2-0 Seattle. Jacksonville's got a nice defense. They're ninth so far in the league, but they're taking on the number 1 defense, Seattle. But I can't see Russell Wilson and company having any trouble slicing and dicing through the Jaguars.
No, at home especially, Jaguars have nothing offensively.
And Maurice Jones-Drew, he's probably going to miss this game. He got his
even if he was in
got
there,
rolled up on his ankle there.
It still wouldn't matter.
Yeah, a lot of people when they drafted Maurice Jones-Drew, they thought he'd be fine. He'll do well, but he hasn't shown it the first 2 weeks. And granted, it's only been 2 weeks, but you got to start showing it by now. But against Seattle, there's not a prayer he does anything.
That's just a bad constructed offense there in Jacksonville.
That secondary for Seattle is just amazing. It's just watching that game. It was like pro players playing against junior college team for San Fran. They surrender only 113 yards passing, not rushing but passing. They give up only 113 yards. The number 1.
So they give up next to
defense.
nothing.
Next to nothing in the pass. So, Chad Henning, if you're listening right now, good luck, buddy. Good luck to you. Another interesting game. This is going to be the Sunday night game. It's the Chicago Bears at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh coming off, I wouldn't call it an embarrassing loss. But you think of Pittsburgh Steelers, you think of
No, it's just
a stout team. They're a good team. The defense
but it
is
goes
good,
along the lines of what's been happening there. They're getting old and slow.
Old and slow. Their center is now out. Yeah, he's out for the year. Ben Roethlisberger, he
runs for his life.
But it's a good thing the guy's as built as he is, Big Ben, but because he can stay in the pocket and he can take a lot of pressure and pretty much have one guy draped on his back and one on his leg and still get the ball downfield.
He gets beat on weekly.
I think he's the most sacked quarterback since he's come into the league. So Chicago Bears, very good defensive secondary with Tillman back there and Peanut. I like to call him Peanut Tillman back there. So they should be good. Matt Forte, he's looking real good, I think.
I like him. I like what he's done so far this year.
Not a sexy pick, maybe in the second round where you probably drafted him, but he's paying dividends for you right now, and in the PPR especially. So he should continue to do well against the Steelers defense. All right, finally for the Monday night game. I wish it was a little bit better, but it's going to be a kind of one-sided contest, I think, again. Oakland is traveling to Denver to take on Peyton
Sounds
Manning
good on paper.
Yeah, you have a Terrell Pryor out there. He possibly could be the leading rusher. Darren McFadden, he had a decent game last week. 19 carries, 129 yards, caught 4 balls for 28. But against the Broncos defense, the Broncos run defense, number 1. Do you want to take a guess on how many yards they've given up in the first 2 games? Average?
70.
40 and a half yards.
40 and a half.
40, that's running the 40. That's it for the entire game, 40 and a half yards. They can be beat through the air. They have a great rush defense, but their pass defense is suspect, ranked 28. But again, Peyton Manning lighting up teams, they'll eventually start giving some yards to the opposition. Just because they have to get back in the game somehow. And the only way you're going to get back against Denver is basically pass the ball. Name me a Raider receiver.
McFadden when he comes out of the backfield. Streeter.
Yeah, Rod Streeter. It's not going to be pretty. So the Broncos, I think if you got a Bronco, you're starting them.
You have a Raider.
Sebastian Janikowski. You got Marcel Reese. He had a decent game, and you have McFadden. But it's going to start the game off. You're going to have Oakland. They're going to do their thing, whatever. Next thing you know, in a blink of an eye, or when you come back from the refrigerator or getting some chips from the cupboard, it's going to be 21-0.
It's going to be ugly.
Yeah, so it's going to get out of hand. And after that, if you have the Broncos defense, it might be a good time to start them as well. So those are the matchups. Do we have anything else? We want to take a break. We'll kind of wrap up here. Jim's telling us to take a break, so we'll take a little break. We'll come back and wrap it up. We're at the 810 zone in Leawood, Kansas. I'm Clay Jensen with Brian McRae. We'll be back in a moment for 810 WHB TV.
everything goes wrong. Right. 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 Using somebody else's stuff.
And we're back from 810 Zone in Leawood. Clay Jensen with Brian McRae. Recapping a little bit here. I want to make mention, you can also check this broadcast out if you missed any part of it on WHB, 810WHBTV.com. Also on Facebook, if you have any questions, fantasy questions, go ahead and go there. I'm pretty much on Facebook all the time during the daytime and in the evening. So send your questions if you have any fantasy football questions there. Just put them on the page there, post it, and we'll get back to you as soon as humanly possible. What games are you interested in watching this week?
The Thursday night matchup.
Of course, you got to watch that.
But I think that's going to be very interesting for a number of reasons. The storylines. Andy Reid going back to Philly, the Philly offense. I think the Chiefs' defense is much improved. See what kind of things happen in that matchup. You will know a little bit more about how the Chiefs plan to use, I think, Jamal Charles after this game. Can they go downfield a little bit more to Dwayne Bowe? Will they open up their offense a little bit? They're going to have to score more than 17 to win, I think.
Can Philly's defense stop anybody? They can put the points up on the board, but my goodness gracious, their defense.
So that's one of the matchups that I'm looking forward to see. It's a shame though that it's going to be on Thursday because that may be one of the better matchups of the weekend, and it's going to be over on Thursday night.
Now you're going to be you'll be able to watch it. I myself have to work that night, but hopefully I'll be. I do have TVs where I will be working, so I'll be kind of catching a little bit of that. Another good one, I think a good matchup would be the Sunday game, Houston and the Ravens. It'd be kind of fun to watch. The most enjoyable one, for me personally, I think will be the
Browns.
No, not the Browns. I think the 49ers game will be fun to watch against Andrew Luck and the Colts. I'm kind of displeased about the primetime games, Sunday night and Monday night games.
Yeah,
I know the flex schedule's not out there yet, but
they're kind of duds.
Yeah, the Raiders at the Broncos and then the Bears against the Steelers. Not that fun of games to watch. The Rams Cowboys could be interesting. Green Bay is always fun to watch as well, but I think Thursday nights.
They're better primetime matchups that they could have picked.
Yeah, I think Thursday night's game is probably the best one that's going to be on the docket.
Think it is
and like I said, it will be over. From the 810 Zone in Leawood, I'm Clay Jensen. Guys, stop on by. We're here every Wednesday during the fantasy football season, starting up at 7 o'clock. A lot of great food down here, great appetizers, great specials as well. 810 Zone in Leawood. Signing off for WHB 810 TV. I'm Clay Jensen with Brian McRae. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for joining us, everybody.